The focus of the data set that we have provided should be on the information or those cohorts, those are microdosed with doxorubicin. So our study was a triple arm study. It had a device only arm, a 100 microgram doxorubicin arm, and 200 microgram doxorubicin arm.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. Joining me now is Dr. Raza Bokhari. He is the CEO of Medicus Pharma. And Dr. Bokhari, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I am doing really well, Steve. Thank you so much for having me back on your program.
Yeah, the company out with a couple of news releases talking about what we've talked about in the past, and that is your SkinJect Phase 2 data that you released. And now you have some independent validation from the doctor that was actually involved in it, and he's come out with some comments on what he saw, and you've shared that with everyone.
Yes, Steve, we are very pleased with how we are progressing in the development and commercialization effort to bring to market a novel, non-invasive treatment using our uniquely designed patent-protected microneedle arrays to treat non-melanoma skin diseases, especially basal cell carcinoma of the skin. Earlier last week, we did following the filing of our annual audited financials, did a business update call on the overall outlook of the company. And we were really very fortunate that Dr. Babar Rao, our principal investigator and a key opinion leader in dermatology, had joined the call to give his independent perspective of our recently released phase 2 top-line data and the outcome and the future, what lies ahead, couldn't be more encouraging and positive for us.
And I guess the message that you're trying to get across in what he had to say, but also what you've had to say in the past recently is this is a novel one, so it's new. It's something that hasn't been sort of done before, and so there's a lot of things that people need to understand moving forward.
Indeed, Steve, novel therapies have a novel way to get intellectualized and interpreted and adopted. To not to get too much into detail, but these microneedle arrays that we have, these are methyl carboxymethyl cellulose dissolvable microneedles, and these needles by themselves, without any chemotherapeutic agent, also lend biological activity and produce clinical data points. The important thing is that for our study, and based on what our patents are and the pathway to registration that the FDA has given us some alignment with, which is the 505(b)(2) pathway, which is to bring to market an additional indication of treatment for a known chemotherapeutic agent, doxorubicin. The focus of the data set that we have provided should be on the information or those cohorts, those are microdosed with doxorubicin. So our study was a triple arm study. It had a device only arm, a 100 microgram doxorubicin arm, and 200 microgram doxorubicin arm. There was a clinical data set was seen in all three arms. However, the one that we have to focus on a go-forward basis is the 200 microgram arm, which is where we need to refine and go into a planned end of phase 2 meeting, just focused on the 200 microgram arm and not really think of the biological activity of the needle to be of any pivotal importance, at least for the current pathway to registration that we are adopting, which is the most fastest economical, and relatively easy to achieve as opposed to an innovative product. So that is what our effort is. That is
Okay.
what also our principal investigator wanted to emphasize on, and that is what the company continues to provide regular updates to bring the market up to speed.
All right, Dr. Bokhari, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much. Good update as always, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me back on your program.
All right, Dr. Raza Bokhari, the CEO of Medicus Pharma.